Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to this launch. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Um, I'm recording my reading because I'm having my tonsils removed very shortly. Great timing for a book launch. So by the time you watch this, I probably won't be able to speak very much, which will be a first. So I'm recording my poetry reading ahead of the night of the launch. Firstly, I'd like to thank Aaron Kent and his amazing team at Broken Sleep for doing such a fabulous job with my collection, Bleed and See. I'm so grateful to all of you, and I love the cover design. It's so striking. This kind of showcases Aaron's genius for design. I'd also like to thank Sally Bailey, Neil Hall and Luke Kennard for their amazing endorsements of Bleed and See. Thank you so much, and thanks to everybody who supported me along the way. Just some context. Bleed and See is a collection about my brother George, who suffered both from a terminal progressive neurological illness and a skin disfiguring condition. I was his carer along with my mother for close to 15 years. He was a gifted and promising young artist, and this collection engages with his artwork in various ways. The front cover actually includes a painting from a self-portrait of my brother that he produced himself, which Aaron so kindly included in the book in full colour, along with some preparatory studies. And I'm so grateful to you, Aaron, for just the care and sensitivity and thoughtfulness you put into this. I don't think I could have entrusted this such a personal project to anybody else. So thank you so much for that. This book also engages with themes relating to disability, prejudice, and the non-normative body, and as well as my years of caring for my brother. And the proceeds from the book, from my royalties, will go to Carers UK charity. And in this time of crisis, the work they do is more important now than ever. So do check out Carers UK website and think about contributing to them, but also purchasing the book will contribute to their charity directly. So let's jump into the collection. I'll read you 3 poems from the first section, which is entitled Alien Arcana. And this section deals with the non-normative body in the history of art, material culture and ritual practice. And it engages with themes which go to the very heart of the origins, I think, of some social prejudices that relate to non-normative bodies and to disability and disfigurement. And these are themes which relate to curiosity, wonder, and what was then thought of as kind of monstrosity or monstrous births in the early modern period. So this collection engages with those themes historically in its first section, and then the second section explores my brother's condition more directly, and it's kind of a series of letters almost from me directly to my brother. The first poem is called Inhuman Histories. On a collection of Linnaean natural historical drawings in Windsor Castle, made with the aid of one of the earliest microscopes gifted to the Linnaean Academy by Galileo. And the Linnaean Academy was an academy of learning in the Renaissance. And this poem begins with 2 epigraphs. He that takes delight to understand the wondrous works of nature shall taste the true pleasure and content of histories, although the feebleness and weakness of many appetites are commonly accustomed to stay at things less profitable, which is the desire to know new things, called curiosity. Joseph de Acosta, The Natural and Moral History of the Indies, 1590. Wonder is the child of rarity, and if a thing be rare, though in kind it be no way extraordinary, yet it is wondered at. Francis Bacon, Novum Organum, 1620. As lava forms a continent, so an idea broke and bled its intent. The earth is gentle, its palatial eye showed us a pulsing jellyfish orbiting an underwater inferno. The sun is the omphalos, cross-starred with our world, and we are rapt. For there are meeker wonders, shivering, noiseless, beneath the crust of this. The tomes record how Galileo's gift to the Linnaeans, the lens box, little occhialino, could lay bare the cunning common tricks of glass-walking flies tell the sudden bliss of seeds carving into daylight, plumb the throat of a goose quill. On every painted folio the Baroque discovered its own furtive prototype, in misshapen gourds, citrons cicatrised in alien skins, tumescent Siamese fruit, shrieking mandrake roots, rude homunculi of Orchis italica, a four-legged chick, a two-headed rat, a baby's face on a calabash, such prodigious sights. To think nature's cack-handed executioners have left us this crude opulence of irregularity. Without it we are trustful as children, not knowing the lines of suggestion, the odds of flesh and fang which meet in the fabric. To turn the page is to list forwards. My fingers trace the crooked, inhuman illuminations. Bartholomew Baby. This was water life, if ever she saw it. A shell-settled god, the profile misused with a useless ridge of knuckle, fusing collarbone to carina. The midwife made the sign with pater, ave, protegere, low-intoned, as if this was all no more than a rumour. The head no precious clod of mind or, the spine no broken rosary in her hand, the unlucky bairn, curled like a Gryllus in a medieval folio, inhabited the tooled margin of wonder, and would be, just as she had once seen on the painted board of a Bartholomew fair, portent of dire rack, the hammer of God in our latter times. Would they one day lay out a penny to view this witch's changeling, torn from nature's smooth endearments? The mother's arms will hold a bag of ash. When the word gatherers arrive, she will know the world has come between her and her son. The next poem is a diptych poem, so it's two poems together in one, and it's called Excavations. And it's worth pointing out again that all the poems in this first historical section, which deal with kind of the non-normative body in history and art and culture, all of those poems are also simultaneously about my brother in some way. And the first part of this next poem engages with the Bartholomew Baby poem in that they both deal with the concept of parental loss for obvious reasons, I think. Excavations. 1. The Valley God. A childless Egyptologist discovers a mummified fetus. His head in my hands was a ball of Balata sap, an opulent amber globe, his eyes 2 stopped glands. The Nile sand had dyed his once waxen skeins, a golden bolt, no cursor of the bitumen inside. What ash, what culm lies in the emptied organ beds, muddled with amulets in oils calcified to glass, can only be guessed at. If a valley god, long dead, can stare from the face of a fetus into the heart of the paradise he has lost, who will dare snub faith before this mute necromancer of touch, the linen ghost whose weight brings back the ache that rocked itself between the worlds a mother cannot cross? 2. Scarab Heart, the British Museum, Egyptian Galleries. With what crop or resin will we find the corpse packed, cutting first through its skins of rotten linen, opening the bone altar to the air and spore withering silent sacrilege? What will the diligence of hands turn over to theft or publicity? Will we find the scarab heart beneath the gauze soaked in Palestine bitumen, layers of Nile mud and sawdust, or a real heart shrunk back to a black blood clot, useless as a bat's eye? And could a physician like me careless of theology and meninges, have left wedged in the little conjuring place of the occipital foramen the bronze sculpting hook with which he had emptied this skull of dynasties. Under the baffling light of the CAT scan, the head is a jellyfish, coils of damaged tissue still visible through its diaphanous hood. The spine's shivered tentacle has released its bioluminescent toxins and made a Rorschach of the crippled body. We all see exactly what we want to see. So the remainder of the poems I'll read tonight are from the second part of Bleed and See, which, as I mentioned earlier, these are poems addressed directly to my brother. The MRI scan as art. Wound me not with thine eye, but with thy tongue use power with power, and slay me not by art. William Shakespeare, Sonnet 139. Its action is a bargain struck between the nature of light and the accomplishments of collision. All vectors and collapsing grid lines it reasons with atomic velocity, thinking itself into textile, skin work into the bare bones of event, even hunting other human thoughts. It opens eyes into everything, and its eyes are ovine, black points on its graph of chaos theory. Its gadolinium swirls bleed little blossoms into your cerebellum. Touched, neurons cough up their voltages, myelins untrussing, lipids, calcia, axons exploding like stars, all your synaptic divinities de-riddled. In this nuclear winter your sleep, your throat chords shrinking till the love of flesh for fission burns you down to the hopeful nudity of an instant, your jagged self scarred like an exposure on your rock bed. Waking, you will wonder how you've raised such splendours, such radiant art outside yourself, as if your mind had always toiled beside its own image. This poem is one of a series of quite biting satirical poems in the collection. I was keen to ensure that this wasn't just a kind of sentimentalized portrayal of my brother. I wanted to get across the whole panoply and complexity of emotions that went along with both his conditions as he was dealing with them, but also with my own reactions to everything he had been going through, really. And so this is one of kind of a series of more biting satirical poems. It's called Walker. And if you have a clown phobia, you may want to block your ears for this poem. For you, every step was a carnival. You wore the idea of yourself in harlequin, the mismatched patches of iodine swabs and plaster gauzes, the Russian doll masks of your funny faces, and a proclivity to vanish behind arras drawn smooth and blue as a hospital bed's curtain. You made the children dance to the pell-mell of your automaton clockwork. Performing you were a craft in neon, a circus tent for skin. You loved the curious choreography of canned laughter, the sudden apocalypse of event, the switchblade language of properties. You embraced the literal in plastic, the implausibly yellow banana skins you winked at in your path, the trick carnation squirts you excused for your tears, guns firing bang to stop hearts dead, the collapsible keg, the satires of bodily functions. Your run had a story too. It taught us how you learned to live without the gravity of flesh. What was this naked being in earnest when you quicksilvered at the pull of the tightrope? And how they cheered. Your encore was a stillness that was all approximation, each limb baffled in a probability of place, and the audience applauded one last time. When you performed, my dear, there was never an empty seat in the house. What do they stare at now with such a hungered grace? To whose show do they go when they can no longer fever your thoughts with their looks? Who clowns his foot for their amusement. But then there are the days when in the dark of an unportraitured wall I see a painted grin, shark teeth, your eyes deep hypnoscopes. I hear again the arcade's song, the dank accordion, the crude drum roll before the freak comes on, and I am overjoyed to feel your gloved hands reaching through to catch and clasp, shark teeth gnashing. Cranefly. I tried to forget the cranefly underneath your flesh, wedged somewhere in the brain's stem, cranial incubator, her wings of spilt petrels, potential refraction, though hedged in dark, embracing dura mater, in inaction, sensing synaptic sparks. But whenever she fluttered, your eye became skewed on an invisible sight line. Your hands retraced every lost motion they had ever made, and needs formed pleading little lips of spittle on your lips, too hushed to be heeded. Her haste was a mother's haste, to hatch her clutch, unspool the school in her thorax. Beyond the breathing of my waking thoughts I heard the cranefly's happy ending, the shimmering flight to freedom, the fathering shell of you broken. And the last poem I'm going to read today is called A Work in Progress. I want to keep you held between the boy who painted horrors passing through their softer selves till they felt like comforts, and the young man whose trembling carried on into the room, into the lives in that room, into the world around those lives when he stopped trembling. Now I know what sums this up. In this room, on this bed where you lay, keeping our lives from folding in. Though you are dead, love is a work in progress, still being made. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks again for coming to this launch, and thanks once more, Aaron and the whole Broken Sleep team, for doing this incredible job with the collection. So I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.